Hi everyone, today we will discuss Japan's JDM secrets, how the locals buy versus how you import. You're looking at two sets of keys to the exact same dream car. One was bought right here in Tokyo for a local market price, sealed with a handshake after a walk around the block. The other? It was a nail-biting gamble from thousands of miles away. A process fueled by grainy photos, blind wire transfers, and months of staring at a shipping tracker. One is just another Tuesday for a local. The other is the gauntlet every importer has to run. Getting your hands on a JDM legend is a completely different game if you're in Tokyo versus Toronto, and the rules aren't just in another language. They're for a different sport entirely. So, what's the real story? What are the secrets that separate a simple purchase from a complicated, expensive, and risky ordeal? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on both. We're getting into the process, the costs, and the risks to show you what you absolutely need to know before you even think about spending a dime. This is how the locals buy versus how you import. Let's discuss the locals' advantage. Buying in Japan first up, let's talk about how it's done right here on the ground in Japan. For a resident, whether they're a Japanese local or a foreigner living here, buying a car is, for the most part, refreshingly simple. Forget the international shipping containers and customs brokers for a second. The hunt begins at a local used car dealership, a private seller's house, or for the more adventurous, a domestic auto auction. The biggest advantage by far is physical access. You can actually walk onto a lot, open the door, and check for that faint smell of cigarette smoke that never seems to show up in pictures. You can put your hands on the car, run your fingers down the fender to feel for ripples from a shoddy repair, and get on your knees to check for rust. You can ask for the keys, turn the engine over, and listen for any weird ticks or knocks. This immediate, real connection to the car is a luxury importers just don't have. The paperwork, while it's still Japanese bureaucracy, is a well-worn path. To buy a car, a resident needs a few key things: a valid driver's license, their residence card, and the big one, a parking space certificate called a shako shimaisho. This is proof from the local police that you actually have a legitimate, off-street spot to park your car. No parking spot, no car. It's that simple. Once you've found the one, the dealer handles most of the heavy lifting. They'll manage the ownership transfer and make sure the car has a valid Shaken, Japan's mandatory and famously strict vehicle inspection. This inspection, which is required every 2 years for most cars, covers everything from emissions to safety gear and ensures a solid level of roadworthiness. Because the Shaken can be pricey and a hassle, a lot of owners sell their cars right before it's due, which creates a steady flow of well-maintained vehicles on the used market. This is the locals' secret weapon: total access and information. They can see the cars that never get listed for export. They can physically inspect vehicles, build relationships with dealers, and navigate a domestic market that's pretty transparent for the person standing right in front of them. They completely sidestep the huge markups and fees tied to the export process. But even for locals, heavily modified cars can cause major headaches and extra costs during the Shaken inspection, proving that Japanese regulations are strict for everyone. Number 2. The importer's gauntlet. The high-stakes gamble now. Let's hop on a 5,000-mile flight and step into the shoes of an international importer. This is where the game changes entirely. Your dealership isn't a physical lot. It's a website. Your inspection isn't a test drive. It's a one-page auction sheet covered in cryptic codes and a handful of low-res photos. The journey for an importer almost always kicks off by finding a reputable exporter or import agent. This person is your lifeline, your proxy on the ground in Japan. Their job is to help you navigate the massive Japanese auto auctions, where thousands of cars are sold every single week. These auctions are the main source for exported JDM cars, offering an incredible selection but also a ton of risk. You can't just log on and start bidding yourself. Access is restricted to licensed dealers in Japan. This brings you to your first major hurdle: trust. You're about to send a deposit, often thousands of dollars, to a company you've probably never met, all based on online reviews and reputation. You are putting your faith in them to inspect cars for you, translate the auction sheet correctly, and basically be your eyes and ears. And that auction sheet? It's your Bible. It will have a grade from S brand new, down to 3 or lower, along with a little diagram marking every single scratch, dent, and possible repair. But these sheets are only so accurate. Inspectors are human and they miss things. The number one fear for any importer is what the auction sheet doesn't show. Hidden rust is a huge issue, especially on cars from colder, northern parts of Japan where roads are salted. Most JDM cars just don't have the kind of rust-proofing you'd find on vehicles built for North American or European winters. Let's take a newly eligible icon as an example, the Nissan Silvia S15. As of 2024 to 2025, these cars are finally legal to import into the US under the 25-year rule. You spot a clean spec car at auction. The hammer price is, let's say, 2 million yen. But that's just the starting line. Now comes the flood of fees, what many of us call the importer's tax. You've got the auction fee, the exporter's service fee, inland transportation to get the car from the auction to the port, and Japanese customs and deregistration fees. Then comes the biggest ticket item, ocean freight, which can easily be over $1,000. On top of that, there's marine insurance, port fees on both ends, and the U.S. import duty. Following a new trade agreement, the tariff on Japanese vehicles imported to the U.S. is now 15, a big jump from the old 2.5 rate. And we're still not done. You'll probably need a customs broker in your home country to wrestle with the mountain of paperwork. And finally, you have to arrange transport from the port to your driveway. That 2 million yen car can easily double in price by the time you're holding the keys. And that's just for the US. For buyers in Europe, there's a whole different, and you could argue more complex, challenge, homologation. This is the painful process of modifying the car and getting it certified to meet European safety and emission standards, which can be a very long and expensive nightmare. We're about to put these two methods head-to-head and show you the real, bottom-line difference in cost, time, and risk. If you're finding this breakdown helpful and want more dives into the JDM world, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out and makes sure you won't miss what's coming next. Alright, let's get to the verdict. Number 3. The head-to-head verdict. So, let's lay it all out. Local buying versus international importing. How do they really stack up? First up, cost. This is where you'll see the most shocking difference. A local buyer in Japan pays the car's price, plus tax and some registration fees. That's pretty much it. An importer pays that same price for the car, but then gets hit with a dozen other fees. Exporter fees, multi-stage shipping, duties, broker fees. The list goes on. It's not uncommon for the total landed cost of an imported car to be 50 to 100% higher than its initial price in Japan. The dream car you see listed for $15,000 on a Japanese auction site will likely be closer to $25,000 or even $30,000 by the time it's in your hands. Second, time. A local buyer could find and buy a car in a few days or weeks. For an importer, patience isn't just a virtue. It's a requirement. From the moment you win a car at auction, it can take 2 to 4 months, sometimes even longer, for the car to be transported, shipped across the ocean, cleared by customs, and finally delivered. It's a long, anxious wait. Third, risk. For a local buyer, the risk is tiny. They can inspect the car themselves or have a mechanic they trust check it out. For the importer, the risk is massive. You are buying a complex, 25-year-old machine completely sight unseen. While scams are rare if you use a reputable exporter, they do happen. The much bigger risk is the car's actual condition. Does it have hidden rust that will cost a fortune to fix? Was it in an accident that was cleverly hidden? Does the engine have an issue that only shows up after it's been running for 20 minutes? These are the questions that keep importers staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. Finally, car condition selection. This one is a little more complicated. Importers get access to a huge volume of cars through the auctions, but they are often bidding on the same pool of cars prepped for the export market. Local buyers, on the other hand, can tap into the entire domestic market, including those one-owner, garage-kept gems that never even sniff an export-focused auction. They have the ultimate advantage of being able to physically vet the car and cherry-pick the absolute best one available. So who is each method for? Well, Buying locally is the dream scenario, but it's reserved for those who actually live in Japan. Importing is the reality for the vast majority of global enthusiasts. It's not about which way is better. It's about understanding that importing is a game of managing risk, not magically erasing it. So what are the JDM secrets? The first is that the true cost of importing isn't just the price of the car. It's the long tail of fees that follows it across the ocean. The second secret is that a local's greatest power is being there in person. The ability to replace 1,000 questions with a 10-minute test drive. And the final, most important secret is that the entire import game is built on bridging an information gap. You're trading money for trust, hoping the person on the other side of the world is honest and has your back. The process is daunting, it's expensive, and it's loaded with potential traps. But for thousands of enthusiasts, the moment the container door slides open and they see their dream car for the first time, it's all worth it. The 25-year rule has unlocked a golden age of JDM legends for the US market, and that passion is what fuels this entire, crazy industry. So what's your dream JDM car? Are you in the middle of the import process right now, or have a story to share? Drop it in the comments below. I read all of them and want to hear about your journey. If you made it this far, you're a real one. We've got a video coming up breaking down the first 5 things you absolutely must check the moment your imported JDM car arrives. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching.